It's a beautiful day for a road trip. I decided to come up to the north of Israel, to the extreme north. Can't get much farther north than this. Where are we? What are we looking at? Well, right here to the east of us, we can see the Hermon Mountain. The Hermon Mountain has been in the news the last couple of weeks. Why? Because the Hermon Mountain is essentially the border between Israel and Syria. Today, we can probably safely say, but I'm not really an authority to give you the truth of this, that virtually all of the Hermon Mountain is under Israeli control. If you look carefully, and I'm not 100% sure you can actually see this with my camera, but there are a number of peaks going from right to left, from east to west. Up until a couple of weeks ago, the right-hand peak, which is the highest peak on the Hermon Mountain, was under Syrian control. And then if you go to the west, you go to the left, you can see there's a little bit of valley. And then there's another peak, which is slightly lower down. That peak has always been, certainly since 1967, under Israeli control. The story of how that came under Israeli control, well, it's an interesting story, and you'll have to believe me because I am a tour guide. Back in 1967, at the end of the Six-Day War, the Golan Heights, which is to our east from there to there, was captured by the Israeli army in the last 2 days of the Six-Day War. And an Israeli general decided that it would be good strategically to also control the Hermon Mountain. So he commandeered a helicopter, and we're talking about helicopters from 1967, and he ordered the pilot to fly him up to the peak, the highest point of the Hermon Mountain, and the helicopter flew him up, and then at some point he said, sorry, we can't go any higher. It was just not capable, it was not technically possible to fly any higher, so the pilot landed on the second highest peak, and that was where the general planted the Israeli flag. And that's why the highest peak, the one to the far east, to the right, remained up until a couple of weeks ago under under Syrian control. The last couple of weeks, after the fall of Assad in Syria, the Israeli government and the army decided it would be a good chance to take over the highest peak too. It is not really certain from a legal point of view, and I'm not a lawyer, so don't take legal advice from me. It's not really certain who actually the highest peak should belong to. Some people will say that it should be under Israeli control because that area is actually what is referred to as a demilitarized zone. We're going to go visit a couple of other places. We're going to go down to, you can see down in the valley, this is the northern end of what's referred to as the Hulda Valley. We're going to go visit a town called Metula, which is basically surrounded on three sides of it by Lebanon, and we'll talk a little bit about Lebanon. Just again, so you understand where we are, over to the west of here, just on the other side of this very short ridge, is Lebanon. So we're in a very narrow area called the Finger of the Galilee, which is surrounded on three sides by enemy states: Lebanon to the west, Lebanon to the north, and more or less Syria to the east, the northeast, but things have changed there. Anyways, let's continue on with this tour. Back to the car. Well, an interesting turn of events. I came up to Metula. You can just see it behind me to the north of here, and they won't let me in. Metula was, for the last year, even more, it was pretty much abandoned because it is very, very close to Lebanon. As I said earlier, it's surrounded on two, maybe even three sides of it. It's sort of like an end of a finger sticking up into Lebanon. It's surrounded on two or three sides of it, depending on how you look at it. It's surrounded by Lebanon. And on the other side of the border, there are Lebanese villages. As far as I know, and this is what I was interested in seeing, these Lebanese villages have been pretty much abandoned and destroyed because essentially all of those Lebanese villages, a couple kilometers from here, just on the other side of this little town of Metula, they were being used as terrorist bases by the Hezbollah. Hopefully the Hezbollah won't come back, and according to what the United Nations has demanded, as well as Israel, the Lebanese army will be coming in to protect the Lebanese side of the border. So anyways, can't go in. Rather interesting turn of events. The town of Metula, it's one of the oldest villages in Israel. It was founded more than 120 years ago in 1896. It's a small farming community. About less than 2,000 people live there in good times. Anyways, our last and final place we're going to visit is, again, the base of the Hermon Mountain, which we can just see there in the distance. Hopefully, we'll see how close we can get to it. We're at our final stop. We're now at the base of the Hermon Mountain. This behind me, this is the base of the Hermon Mountain. The truth is we're on the eastern side of it, and the higher peak of it is sort of behind it. We can't see it where they have skiing in the winter. If we get snow, doesn't look like we're going to get any snow, maybe not even rain. Besides being at the base of the Hermon Mountain, we're in the Druze village of Majdal Shams. Quick recap, the Druze are a group of people who about 1,000 years ago, they left the Muslim faith and they formed their own religion. They believe themselves, and I accept this, they believe themselves to be a unique people, religion, and ethnicity. According to the Muslims, or according to some Muslims, they're actually heretics or apostates. We have here in the northern Golan Heights, we have 4 Druze villages. Very nice people, very interesting people. For the most part, especially now, they are loyal and faithful to the state of Israel. But why are we here? We're here because over here you can see to the east, that's Syria. The now free state of Syria. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Only time will tell. We can see the border fence, which was put up by Israel several years ago. Today, as I'm sure you've been seen in the news, Israel has advanced into the Syrian Golan, and they've advanced well. They've gotten close to Damascus. Damascus is about 30 kilometers in that direction, and as far as I know, as far as the news says, the Israeli army has gotten to within about 10, maybe 15 kilometers of Damascus, and they are controlling this area. According to international law, this area on the other side of the fence is supposed to be demilitarized, and so there is actually a legal question about who has the rights to it, Syria or Israel. I don't know. Some people will tell you Israel, some people will tell you Syria. Again, as I said earlier, only time will tell. A couple of other things. You can see up on that hill over there where the antenna is, that's an abandoned United Nations military post. And you can see some buildings in the distance. I don't know, maybe you can't. I'm not sure if the camera can pick them up. You can see some buildings in the distance. Those are Druze villages. And this brings me to my main point. There are several Druze villages on the other side, on the Syrian side, who are distantly related to the Druze here in the northern Golan Heights. And those Druze over there on the Syrian side have asked both the IDF, the Israeli army, as well as the Israeli government to be taken under Israeli control. They realize where their good fortunes are. Their good fortunes would be to be controlled by Israel and not by some future Syrian state, even though HTS, Hayat, can't remember their name, has said that they want to be a tolerant, liberal society, but I'm not going to hold my breath. So anyways, over there, the Syrian Golan, at the moment controlled by Israel, here on the edge of the Hermon Mountain and the Druze town of Majdal Shams. If you like this, please like and subscribe. And hopefully one day I can bring you up here personally to see this eye to eye. Thank you.